Hey guys, it's Tricky Nick here. There have been some crazy commercial and critical failures in the gaming industry. From games that have scored a whopping 33 on Metacritic to others like the ones later in this video that have lost $500 million for a company, there have been some massive screw-ups. So today, we're going to be taking a look at some of these video game failures to see what went wrong and if they were really that bad. Starting with Super Mario Maker 3DS. Upon first glance, Super Mario Maker 3DS doesn't look very much like a flop. I mean, it's Mario Maker on the go. That sounds like a recipe for success. But for some reason, the Wii U version of Super Mario Maker sold twice as many copies, despite the 3DS having almost 65 million more units sold than the Wii U. So while a solid 29.6% of Wii U owners had Mario Maker, only a feeble 2.6% of 3DS owners had Mario Maker. Since I for some reason have 2 copies of this game, I figured why not take a look at it and see why it flopped. Let's hop in. Super Mario Maker 3DS is exactly like Mario Maker on the Wii U. We have just about every single element in the course maker, minus the amiibo support and the ability to add custom sound. We even have all the game styles, which allows us to play New Super Mario Bros. U on a 3DS. It feels really weird being able to spin jump in a handheld Mario game. I feel like I'm doing something illegal here. So basically, all that was lost in the transfer from Wii U over to 3DS is the mystery mushroom. Yeah, a little upsetting, but it definitely doesn't warrant this game failing. So what else changed about it? Well, now there's a campaign called Challenge Mode, featuring levels made by Nintendo. It's such a welcome addition that isn't even in the Wii U version. It helps you learn the mechanics of elements in the game and teaches you how to make good levels. Mainly because it remakes old Mario levels in Mario Maker, but they were good levels nonetheless, so I digress. On top of that, it's a good way to make unlocking course elements fun. So after we play through the campaign, we unlock all the elements in the game. Once we have those, we can create and share some levels of our own. How exciting! Wait a second, where's the upload button? I'm not seeing it. Let's just take a look at the game cover real quick. It says create, share, play, so I should be able to share. Let's just read the fine print here. The game allows users to play the same content as the Wii U version. Users cannot upload courses to the course world. Wait, what? Well, no wonder this game flopped. The entire point of Super Mario Maker is to create levels and share them with the world. But for some perplexing reason, the 3DS version doesn't allow you to share courses unless you're using local play. So at best, you're giving it to like one person. What was Nintendo thinking with this one? It's very obvious that Super Mario Maker 3DS deserved to flop if you forgot to add the uploading courses part. This is like if you released Mario Party but made it single player only. Oh wait, they did that too. So overall, Super Mario Maker 3DS is a pointless game, and I don't see why anyone would want it. Shut up. Nintendo made a major oversight when creating this game, and it totally ruins the entire experience. They took out the entire point of Super Mario Maker. Alright, that's enough dogging on Super Mario Maker 3DS. Let's move on to the next failure on this list. Superman Returns for Nintendo DS. What's the deal with this game? It didn't cost $500 million to make like the next game on this list, but it did score a depressing 33 on Metacritic. Just look at some of these reviews. Well, it's not the worst Superman game ever made. It's still not anything any sane person would want to play. If you need a Superman fix, go rent the DVD instead. Oof. There are some solid gaming moments here, but the glitches and flaws in the design are too large here to ignore. You know, if IGN says it's bad, it must really be bad. This is about the worst game I've ever played? Well, can't get much more straight to the point than that, but it's only the DS version of this game that gets all the hate. The reviews are significantly higher for the home console versions. Alright, so what actually made everyone hate this game so much? Let's take a look. So the game starts us off on this board, where we move around trying to thwart the various efforts of Bizarro. Some of these encounters include finding portals and closing them, fighting Bizarro's henchmen, and avoiding billboards? Oh gosh, this is gonna be rough. This game is one of the worst that I've ever played. I don't think I've ever played a video game with less things to like about it. I seriously cannot think of anything about this game that I remotely liked apart from this single newspaper clipping that I chuckled at for a second. The controls are way too sensitive and inaccurate, and I can barely move around without colliding into everything. But on top of that, the graphics are more bare bones than a new Pokemon game. It's unreal how terrible this game looks. But here's the icing on this garbage pile. The gameplay is literally either holding down a single button or playing a disgusting version of Guitar Hero. There is zero immersion or interactivity past that. I could train a monkey to play this game. Superman Returns DS is so laughably bad in every aspect that I'm shocked it actually hit store shelves in this state. Like, look at these cutscenes. You can't tell me that somebody really saw this and thought, yeah, that's what Superman looks like. I know this is a DS game, but come on, you can do better than this. So yeah, Superman Returns DS is very deserving of the title video game failure. But when looking at the game in this video that caused Nintendo to lose $500 million, Superman Returns suddenly doesn't seem all that bad. But before we get to that, let's talk about the other game that flopped with $500 million on the line. Halo Infinite. Stop the presses. Before we move on, I have a Patreon now. It's only $2 a month. Please go check it out. Okay, back to the video now. Bye-bye. I've never really mentioned it on the channel before, but I am a huge fan of Halo. So when I heard that a new Halo game with a $500 million budget was being developed, my Xbox fanboy hormones were off the charts. Then the game actually released after a slight delay, and I bought it expecting an instant classic. Initial reviews of the game were pretty positive, and sales numbers were solid. So what happened to Halo Infinite that it failed? Well, it simply didn't retain a solid player base. It's been doing nothing but hemorrhaging players ever since it came out. This is most likely due to the lack of content in the game. The main draw of Halo Infinite was the campaign. This campaign was advertised to feature a large-scale open-world co-op story that would be nothing like we've ever seen before in the Halo franchise. In addition to that, they promised an amazing online multiplayer experience. But what we actually got after a delayed release was the cancellation of the co-op, a severely scaled down campaign with much more linear progression than what was advertised, and an online multiplayer with very little content. And the little content it did have was mostly locked behind microtransactions and a battle pass. So while as a whole, Halo Infinite wasn't a horrible game at all, it was not as grandiose as the marketing made it seem. It was much more of a generic modern shooter like Modern Warfare 2 than a standout Halo game. So in essence, the marketing for Halo Infinite promised way too much. Then, when Microsoft couldn't fulfill the promises that they advertised for the game, it left a bad taste in the mouths of fans. As a result, the game had a decent launch, and then as fans ran out of things to do or found themselves not enjoying the game, they put it away. Surprisingly enough though, later updates did fix the lack of content in the online mode, but it was too little too late for many, hence the player loss. But for me, these updates actually did bring me back to the game for a little while, and I found myself enjoying all the new things to do. Whereas a typical free content update in a Nintendo game adds like a character and maybe a stage, the updates to Halo Infinite added multiple new game modes to try out. And I gotta say, I had a lot of fun with these new modes. But as much as it sucks to say, Halo Infinite definitely did deserve the fate it got. For a game that took $500 million to develop, it was quite unimpressive. If you're putting that much money into this game and failing to live up to the promises you made about it, it's gonna fail. And with all those games out of the way, it's finally time to talk about the game that lost Nintendo $500 million. New Super Luigi U. How the heck did this game cost Nintendo $500 million? It's a new Super Mario Bros. Game that uses no new assets and was developed extremely quickly for very cheap. Well, the problem was that this game was the culmination of the Year of Luigi, an event that Nintendo held in 2013 to commemorate the better Mario brother and end his time in the shadows. Unfortunately, all the marketing and effort put into this event was a complete failure, leaving Nintendo $500 million in the hole. But this is where it gets weird. Of all the games I've talked about today, this one is easily the best, which makes it all the more shocking that it flopped so badly. It literally had the lowest sales numbers of any new Super Mario Bros. Game, sitting at a disappointing 3 million. Super Luigi U did something almost none of the new Super Mario Bros. Games could do: be challenging and fun. This game is awesome! Nintendo decided to take assets from new Super Mario Bros. U and reuse them to make shorter, more difficult levels with a time constraint. While it is a little lazy, Nintendo worked within these limitations to create a game that actually turned out better than new Super Mario Bros. U. The levels are so unique and actually present a challenge. They utilize Luigi's higher jump and slippier physics very well. The levels flow so perfectly. While the boss fights are just reused from NSMBU, I can't excuse it due to the low budget. They even replaced Mario with Nabbit, which is so neat. He acts as a sort of easy mode for the game, being invincible but unable to get power-ups. Just about everything new Super Luigi U does has a lot of heart put into it. So why'd it flop? There's no No way this game deserved to fail. It's a quality experience and wasn't even full price. Nintendo put all their advertising into it as well, even going as far as filling an entire subway with ads for the game. I'm not entirely sure what went wrong here. I guess people were too burned out on New Super Mario Bros. And didn't want to give Luigi the chance he deserved. But alas, New Super Luigi U suffered a terrible fate that it didn't deserve, and ever since, 2D Mario has remained dormant. It's really upsetting. And that concludes my list of some of the biggest flops in gaming history. If you want to see me cover more games that failed, be sure to like the video, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.